We continue now at the top of Daf Nun Vavam and Beis in Meseches Yoma. This is Yoma Daf 56b. The Gemara here is in the middle of bringing a Mishnah to try to prove that Rabbi Yehuda does not hold of Breira. Mishnah here continues, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon Osrin. Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon, they say it's usher to use Breira, meaning in the situation of a barrel of wine. Let's say you want to say, whatever is left in the barrel at the end, that's going to be the Truma and the Meiser, etc. Rabbi Yehuda says it's usher. Alma ein Breira. You see from here that Rabbi Yehuda holds of no Breira. And the point of the Gemara here is to say the same thing when it comes to the shofar, where you have the money for the kinei chova. So you have a shofar full of money given by different individuals to bring karbanos, among them karban chatas, and let's say one of the people dies. So the question of the Gemara had been, why don't you just use breira over there also? Take a little bit of the money, throw it to the Yam HaMelech, say retroactively that's the money of the person who died, and use the rest of the money. And the Gemara is saying, no, Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold a breira. But the Gemara says, Mimai, how do you know that the pshat in this Mishnah is that Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold the breira? Dilma shani hasa, maybe it's different over there, meaning by the case of the wine. Kidiktani taima, as is learned, we have it learned the reason over there, a different reason. Amru lola Rabbi Meir, because they said to Rabbi Meir, you can't do this retroactive business. Iatamod shemi yibaka hanod, because the problem is, what happens if the barrel breaks? V'nimtza shosa tavalim l'mafreya, and then what's going to end up happening is you're not going to give the trum and the meiser, etc., and retroactively it's going to come out that you drank tevel. In other words, the reason for Rabbi Yehuda is not that Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold a breira. If everything would go as planned, the breira would work, and retroactively we would have identified what's the truma, the meiser, etc. But what if everything does not go as planned? What if the barrel breaks? You end up not giving the truma and the meiser. Then you're going to have a problem. V'yomer lahem, and Rabbi Meir responded to them, l'chashi yibaka, if it breaks, it breaks, meaning we're not concerned with such a thing. So that's not going to be a proof. The point is, this Mishnah is no proof that Rabbi Yehuda does not hold a breira, so we need to try another source. And so the Gemara says, Elam midatani ayo. Instead, let's learn it out from the following teaching of ayo, datani ayo, because ayo taught as follows. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Rabbi Yehuda says, Ein adam masna al shnei devarim ka'echad. A person can't make a t'nai on two things at once. Elim b'chacham lemizrach, eruv lemizrach. Rather, if the chacham is coming from the east, he should make his eruv techumen to the east. L'mayrev eruv l'mayrev. And if the chacham is coming from the west, so then he should make the eruv to the west. Aval lo, but you can't do it in both directions. Rashi over here says, Can a person place two eruvs, one to the east and one to the west, and he wants to say, maybe I'm going to go east and make an eruv tchum to the east, or maybe the west. Maybe there's going to be chachamim, one's going to come from the east, one from the west. V'lomer, he can say, whichever one I want, whoever I want to greet, that's the eruv that will work. Because the eruv really takes effect at bein hashmashos, right when Shabbos starts. And when he wants to choose later on which direction, we don't rely on breira. You see over here, we're not relying on breira. Now, if you have a different situation where you have one chacham, you just don't know where he's coming from, then he can make a condition. If he's coming from the east, then the one from the east will work. From the west, then the west. V'ilu lekanu lekan, but to say to place in both directions, al shnei chachamim l'makom sheretza elach, and say wherever I decide I want to go, it's not a tanai of where is he coming from, it's a tanai of whatever I choose. Lo, that already you can't do, de'ein breira, because there is no breira. So that's what Ayo taught. And the Gemara continues, v'havinon bo, and we asked on this, ma'ishno lekanu lekan delo de'ein breira. What is the difference here? What's the difference that if you put it in both directions, two chachamim, we say it's not good, because we say ein breira. LeMizrach and Ma'irav nami ein breira. We should say the same thing when it comes to Mizrach and Ma'irav also. Aren't you using breira in that case as well? Why is it suddenly okay if it's one chacham and you don't know which direction he's coming from? In both cases, it seems to be you're using breira. And the Gemara says, V'yomer Rabbi Yochanan keshekvar bo chacham. That case of Mizrach and Ma'irav, the chacham already came. It's not something that's going to happen in the future. It's just a question he doesn't know where he already came from. Rashi over here says, Our Havamina was that the Chacham didn't arrive yet ben Hashmoshes. He's on the way, and he's coming from a direction of a diagonal direction. It could come from either direction. So Mizrach Umayrav Nabi, if he's now making the Erev dependent on what the Chacham decides to do, which direction, we don't know what he's thinking ben Hashmasha, so now he's going to come from a different direction. Isn't that also Breira? And the Gemara answers, no, Rabbi Yochanan explained, in that case, the Chacham already came. Bein hashmashas, he already arrived bein hashmashas. You just don't know where he came from. He made it tonight, maybe od yom. It should go from wherever the chacham comes. The chacham already came, and therefore that's not a problem of breira. But in any case, it seems clear from here that Rabbi Yehuda does not hold a breira, because again, al shnei devarim ke'echad is a problem. And now the Gemara continues and returns to our Mishnah, which is the reason why we're discussing this in the first place. V'hashta de'amrin Rabbi Yehuda ein breira. Now that we're saying according to Rabbi Yehuda, the real pshat is Rabbi Yehuda holds there's no breira. Haksiva isle, but he does hold you can rely on writing. In other words, if you have a situation of two shofaros, or in our case, in our Mishnah, you have two pedestals, in theory you can write on one that it's for the par and one for the sawyer. So Yoma Kippurim Nami. So then if he holds of Ksiva, if he holds you can write on two things, and that's enough that there's going to be a recognition, you're not going to get mixed up. So on Yoma Kippurim also, Navid Trei v'nichtav alayu. Why not have two pedestals and write par on one and sawyer on the other, and you can put the bowls, each one on the proper one, and we should say you're not going to get mixed up. And the Gemara answers, Mishum Chosha the Kohen Gadol avadaite. On Yom Kippur, the Kohen Gadol is weak. We're afraid it's harder to pay attention. That's why even though in general we rely on Ksiva, we don't rely on it in this particular situation. And the Gemara continues, if you don't say this, if you don't say it's because of the weakness of the Kohen Gadol that there's a special concern on Yom Kippur of getting mixed up, below Ksiva Nami, even if he didn't write anything on the pedestals, Hai Nafesh V'Hai Zutter, the bowl with the blood of the bull is certainly going to have more blood than the bowl with the blood of the sawyer. The bull has a larger amount of blood, so still it's easy to understand which one is which. Obviously, it's because the Kohen Gadol gets more mixed up on Yom Kippur when he's weak. Maybe you'll try to answer, no, there's not more blood, because you don't have to receive all the blood of the bull. You just have to receive some of it. But that's not true. But Rav Yehuda said, it's called Damo Shel Par. The person who's doing the Shechita needs to receive all the blood of the par. Shenemar, like it says, that's called Dam HaPar Yishpoch El Yesod HaMizbeach. All of the blood of the par is poured to the Yesod of the Mizbeach. Maybe you'll say, no, but you received all of it, but some of it spilled out, so it is even. No, but Hai Chivor V'Hai Sumak. The blood of a sawyer is whiter relative to the blood of a bull. The blood of a bull is redder, and therefore, again, you're not really going to get mixed up. Rashi says, Dam HaPar Sumak. The Dam HaPar is the one that's red. Kid Amron Be'idoch Pirkin, we say that in the other perek. Shadom El Dam HaParim, similar to the Dam HaParim. We talk about something that's red, similar to the Dam HaParim. So rather, it must be, like we said, El Misham, rather, why is it that we're afraid he's going to get mixed up, even though they're clearly different kinds of blood? It's El Misham Chosha de Kohen Gadol Avadaite. It's because the Kohen Gadol is weak, we're afraid he doesn't pay attention properly. Hachanami, here also Misham Chosha, the Kohen Gadol Avadaite. Because the Kohen Gadol is weak, he's not going to pay attention, so we don't want to have two pedestals, regardless of whether you write on them or not. It's still a concern. And the Gemara continues, Hahu de Noches Kamei de Rava. There was a Shliach Tzibur who went in front of Rava, meaning doing the davening on Yom Kippur. Rashi over here says, Hahu Shliach Tzibur, there was a Shliach Tzibur, a Chazan, the Noches Kamei de Rava. He went in front of Rava, V'Haya Omer Seder Yom Kippurim. He was saying over the order of the Avod of the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur, B'Tfilah during the davening, Kamosha Anu Omrim, just like we do when we do the davening on Yom Kippur. And he said the following, Amar, he said, Yotza v'hinicha al kan sheni shebehechel. He went and placed it on the second pedestal in the hechel. That implies there were two pedestals. And then he said, Not al dam hapar. He took off the blood of the par, v'hiniach dam asar, and put on the blood of the goat, implying he's doing it all on one pedestal. You remove first, and then you put down the other one. So Amar Lei, so Rava said to him, Chadar Rabbanan, Chadar Rab Yehuda. You got one statement that reflects like the Rabbanan, meaning there are two pedestals, and then you have another like Rab Yehuda, as Rashi says, Chadar Rabbanan, Damar Kan Hasheni. You call it the second pedestal, like there are two. V'Chadar Rab Yehuda, then you say like Rab Yehuda that there's one. The Amrit not al Tchila. First he takes off one bowl, v'Achar Kachinich, and then he puts on the other bowl, meaning there's only one. Amalohaya Kan Sheni Lohanichol. You don't have a second pedestal to put it down, which is why he needs to take it off first. So what's going on with your statement? And therefore he said, rather, Ema, instead you should say as follows. He niach dam hasoyer. First he puts down the blood of the sawyer, v'not al dam hapar, and then he takes the dam hapar off the second pedestal, meaning again, follow the Rabbanan, that there really are two pedestals. And the Gemara continues at the two dots, quoting the Mishnah of Hiza mimenu al aparoches keneged or mivachutz. You then take this blood of the par of the sawyer, and you sprinkle it keneged the paroches, opposite the curtain, from outside the Kodesh Kodashim. In other words, the Kohen Gadol's in the Kodesh, and he sprays it towards the paroches. The Gemara says, Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, v'chein yasa la'ol moed. You do the same thing the pasuk says in the Ol Moed. What does that mean? Matam and Lomer, what does the pasuk mean? It means exactly what we just said. Kishem shemazel lifnai v'lifnim, just like he sprinkles in the Kodesh Kadashim, kach mazel b'heichol, so too he sprinkles in the Heichol. Malifnai v'lifnim achas lamala v'sheva lamato, just like when he does it in the Kodesh Kadashim, he does 1 upwards and 7 downwards. Midam hapar, from the blood of the bull. Kach mazel b'heichol, he does the exact same thing in the Heichol from the blood of the bull. Kishem shelifnai v'lifnim achas lamala v'sheva lamato midam hasoyer, and just like in the Kodesh Kadashim, he does 1 upwards and 7 downwards from the blood of the goat. Kach mazel b'heichol, he does the same thing in the Heichol. And then the Gemara continues to darshan the psukim. Pasuk says, "Hashochin itam besoch tumosam." It says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu rests with them when they are tamei. Means to say, afilu b'shas shein tameim, even at the time the Klal Yisrael is tamei, shchina imoim, the shchina is still with them. So Amar le'ahut siduki l'Rabbi Chanina, a certain siduki said to Rabbi Chanina. We'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Nun Zayin Amud Aleph.